Hi, good afternoon. I want to begin here with hair before I say anything about methodology or research design. This is me at 16. This presentation is about researcher positionality. My doctoral research centers the stories of young people aged 18 to 21 as they look back on their experience of creative counseling when they were 16 to 18 years old. This presentation explores where that research began, not in a literature review, but in a lived experience, my own. What you will hear over the next 8 minutes are fragments from my own diary of when I was 16, and reflections on what those fragments reveal about my positionality as a researcher. The diary entries I am sharing are not part of my research dataset, and they are not the original diary entries, as the original diary no longer exists. When I was around 18, I destroyed it, afraid that my mother might find it and read it. That act of destruction was itself, I think, part of the story. There was so much I needed to express, and yet so much I needed to hide. What I am sharing today are reconstructed entries, written now from memory as faithfully as I can to the feelings and moments I carried at that age. October 10th, 2007. Dear Diary, started sixth form this week. Everyone seems so sure of themselves, and I don't know why I can't feel that too. From the outside, I probably look fine. I'm always the one making everyone laugh, always the one with something to say, but I come home and it's like I become a different person. There's a man living in our house now, Mom's boyfriend. I barely know him, and suddenly he's just there, at the dinner table, in the living room. I don't know how to feel about it, and I don't know who to tell. And then there's him, my boyfriend. I thought this would be the thing that made everything feel better, but it's making everything feel worse. He keeps bringing her up, his ex, like I'm supposed to just sit there and be understanding. I don't know if he even wants to be with me or if I'm just convenient. I feel so stupid for caring this much. I just want one thing in my life, to feel safe. That entry captures something I hear echoed in the stories of the young people in my research, the experience of an interior life that feels overwhelming and yet somehow invisible. The longing to be understood without having to perform the explanation. 15 January 2008. Dear Diary, I spent 20 minutes this morning just staring at my hair. I hate it. All these curls going everywhere, doing whatever they want. Everyone else looks so neat, so put together. I just look different. And I don't want to be different. I want to just walk into a room and not be noticed. But then another part of me does want to be noticed. For the right reasons. I don't know. I contradict myself constantly. The Salesian Oratory is the one place I feel like I actually belong. They trust me there, properly trust me. I'm helping organize the live-in next month, and they've given me real responsibility. When I'm there, I feel like I'm worth something. I finally talked to Father Steve about some of what I've been feeling. I don't know what I was hoping for. I think I just wanted someone to tell me I was going to be okay. But I left feeling worse than when I arrived, more exposed, like I'd handed something fragile to someone who didn't know how to hold it. I won't do that again. That closing line matters to me now in ways it didn't then. It captures exactly what can happen when a young person's attempt to be heard goes wrong. And it sits at the heart of why I believe the quality of that relational experience in counselling is so important. 9th December 2008. Dear Diary, dance lesson today, like every day. I don't think people understand what it means when I say dance is everything. They think I mean I enjoy it. It's not that. It's more. Like without it, I don't know where I would put everything I'm feeling. The dance company is complicated. I love it and I also dread it sometimes. Pressure, the comparison, the way we're always being watched and assessed. But then the music starts and none of that matters anymore. My body just knows what to do. It's the only time I feel completely inside myself and completely free at the same time. I don't have to explain anything. I don't have to be funny or easy or okay. I just move. Being on stage is like nothing else. The adrenaline before the curtain goes up, the lights, the moment it all clicks. I feel more myself in those 3 minutes than I do for the rest of the week. I've decided, when I'm 18, I'm going to London. I'm going to audition. I don't know if I'm good enough, but I know that this is the thing. This is mine. Dance was my creative language at 16. It was how I regulated, how I survived, how I imagined the future. My research now listens to young people who found something similar. Not dance necessarily, but a creative space that held them when nothing else did. Stepping back into the researcher's voice now, what does this material give me? And what does it ask of me? It gives me empathy, a felt sense of what it is to be 16 and struggling, not as an abstract idea, but as something I have lived. But it also asks me to be careful. My experience is not their experience. The risk in narrative inquiry is that a researcher mistakes resonance for understanding, that I hear my own story in someone else's and stop truly listening. Bracketing those assumptions, returning again and again to what the participant is actually saying, rather than what I expect to hear, this is the ongoing discipline the methodology demands. My research asks young people aged 18 to 21 to look back, to find language now for what they have experienced then. I am asking them to do something I have also done here, in a small way today.
Very much on time, and we have another presentation.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, very much on time. It was Bethan, Boyce, Breton, and us.
I'd like to invite you to listen in to snippets, fragments, entangled threads, lost voices on An Afternoon Yellow and Open-Mouthed with Daffodils. Welsh poet Gillian Clarke is reading poetry to the insane. Some sit, not listening, not seeing, not feeling. But she reads to their presences, absences, and to the big, mild labourer, rocking gently to the rhythms of the poems. A couple of months ago, I wrote a letter to my mam Gi, the South Walian word for grandmother. Anne was my father's mother. I never knew her, and it's not clear how much he had known her either. The dates and figures don't add up. A few years previously, midway through my doctoral thesis, I felt a strong urge to find Mamgi. We can do that nowadays. We can find the dead, hidden in the folds of ancestry.co.uk, myheritage.com, familysearch.org. Uncover stories of your family's past, they promise. Uncover, reveal, piece together, stitch by stitch, census by census, certificate by certificate. Birth, stitch. Marriage, stitch. Death, stitch. Medical notes, stitch. And a back stitch, just to make sure. After all, I'd written about the other 3 grandparents, Rebor, Betty, Tom. I could see those connections clearly, each adding their distinctive hue to the me that I was actually searching for. Finding Anne, where I wish I had not found her, found me stitching scars. Scars over wounds. Wounds stained with tears. Tears that had not ever fully appreciated themselves. The one lone sepia photo of her on the windowsill of my home turned out to be in the form of a postcard when I opened up the back of its frame. I was stopped in my tracks, breath suspended, as I heard the words ringing in my head, "Sgrifenna ati hi," write to her. One side it said correspondence, the other address only. In my imagination, I write, Care of Ward F8, Joint Counties Mental Hospital, Carmarthen, on the right, and start, Anu Mamgi, Dear Grandma, on the left. While searching through my Dalcroze archive, study notes, music repertoire, lesson plans, I had discovered a lone piece of paper, undated. Sitting at the centre of the page was a photocopy of Welsh poet Gillian Clarke's Miracle on St. David's Day. Around the periphery, handwritten on a slant, were 13 roughly scribbled snippets of musical stave, each containing between 3 and 7 musical pitches, with a verbal instruction next to each one indicating their points of connection to the poem. Between the 5th and 6th stanzas, I had sellotaped a photocopied excerpt, 6 lines, from William Wordsworth's The Daffodils. Clarke includes an epigraph from this poem at the opening of her own, and it is the same Wordsworth poem that, we are told, is eventually recited by the mute labourer in Clarke's poem. The collaged information on the page had clearly served as a springboard and inspiration for a creative music, spoken word and movement piece during my Dalcroze training, music and movement pedagogy. I find the fact that I have no recollection of the occasion both disturbing and fascinating. I know that the mind and its capacity to retain and lose memories is a complex phenomenon. If my guesswork is correct, I would have come across Clarke's poem in 1993, around the time of my father's death. I sense that my amnesia is more than a forgetting. It comes from that sheltered interstice that lies between revealing and concealing, from where an ambiguous hint ruffles the water just enough for the silt to start to murmur. I begin to read the poem. In silence, a whisper of a movement on my tongue and lips, and I notice how my eyes stop to hover over certain words, suspended. As I read the poem, I ache, a deep yearning ache. I can't get enough of it. I read it again and again. As I ask myself, what is it? What is it that haunts you so? My reply comes in wordless tears, syllables unspoken, to quote Clark, and a gentle rocking motion, rhythmically attuning to the mute labourer's movements. Julian Clark kindly takes my hand, sensing my need for a companion, not asking for an explanation. She escorts me with her beyond the cedars and oaks, into the grounds of that refurnished country house, refurnished for the insane. Silently, I carry with me the ghosts of past journeys, down corridors, up flights of hospital stairs, right-angled corners, pushable, swingable double doors, and more corridors, a mapped-out, prescribed, memorized route, the walls providing containment for my aching, beating heart. Like Clark, I feel afraid. But in the distance, I catch a glimpse of those open-mouthed daffodils, and through their silence, a thrush sings. Thank you.
And now we have two speakers. That's Jenn and Anne.
Can we get on up as well? Got the presentation up as well, Capital, when it's ready. So I'm here with my co-presenter Anne. Anne's from Tasmania, and she's made the effort to get as close to us as Rome today, but didn't make it all the way over to the UK. So thank you very much, Anne. So this presentation documents the relationship established between me and my co-creator Anne, as we shared our lives, experiences and challenges over an 8-month period. When I was detained under Section 3 of the UK's Mental Health Act between October and December 2025, and in the capacity of a big heart, reached out to offer me support from the other side of the world where she lives in Tasmania. The creative work we present today consists of our own words, poetry, melody, voices and images, other than one photograph, which I will leave you to discern. Recordings were made, shared and adapted over the digital devices and infrastructure we have available to us. Email, smartphones, WhatsApp and Zoom calls. So these are not professional recordings. Our work documents our nascent friendship as it became established. In it, we explore the affordances and limitations of digital technology to form meaningful digital communities, as well as the power and song and music, as well as the power of song and music to lift the heart and claim selfhood back. So yeah.
Been thinking, am I too big? Been thinking, do I dominate? Been thinking, am I too much? Been thinking, is my enthusiasm a problem? And then I get a message from a friend across the world, and this is what she says. An amazing person enters my life, enthusiastic when I'm in strife, beaming joy from across the globe. I'm not too big, you're not too big, I'm not too enthusiastic.
No, you're not.
I just need to be around my neurokin and keep that enthusiasm and grin, 'cause it's part of you, and I can be seen.
Anne and I discovered connections in nature, the sky, emotional upheaval and fluctuations in our well-beings. We shared the joys and pains of life as multiply divergent people. We found co-creation and mutual support from thousands of miles apart through music and digital technologies. This work is deliberately raw and unpolished because at times so was what we shared together.
An amazing person, feeling pain like she might die. An amazing person on the world's other side. An amazing person who I just want to hold. An amazing person who can only be told. You are an amazing person who is such a joy to know. An amazing person who makes music soft and low. An amazing person singing with me to the sky. An amazing person with tears in her eyes. And when I met you, the tears weren't mine. I felt your pain and I sent you a line. I thought maybe music might help. And you found your voice and you sang. When I fell in a pit of despair, you were there, you were there. I thought I was the helper, but I became one. Receiving, sharing, believing. We can't do this on our own. We can't do this on our own. Voices sharing.
So our presentation today reflects the conclusion of this chapter of our work relationship, because for the time being it marks the closure of this period of us working together. Despite our best efforts and the capabilities of digital communication, we are too constrained by time zones, life demands and testing realities of living with neurodivergence. Our working relationship as autoethnographic and autotheoretical PhD companions, offering one another neurokin complexity support, has regressively become unsustainable. We are deeply grateful for the support and collaboration we have shared, and hasn't seen this bit, but I would like to thank Anne for helping me to find my voice and helping to pull me out of the pit of despair that I was in last year. So thank you, Anne.
Hi, everyone. I can trust you can hear me. So before I start, I just really want to know what I will talk about, and I will be swap camera back and forward. So don't be alarmed if I'm disappear off the screen, but you will see something else. My name is Elena Lomas. I'm an interior design lecturer at Torrens University, Australia. And I'm last third year as a practice-based PhD candidate at the University of Queensland. I'm based in Brisbane, Australia. So hello, Tasmania. Just 11 o'clock at our time. So my doctoral research centered on analog handmade collage as reflective space in creative practice in a form of autoethnographical exploration, inquiry, and reflective model. I'm not will be presenting my reflective model, but I'll talk about my creative component. So I describe my work as symbiotic autoethnography, drawing Brownian Beatty's notion of symbiosis as independence and expanding on relationship of autoethnography, approaching on which means to co-construct it and through ongoing interaction between making, materials, and reflection. So since 2023, during my last year of master professional study research, I start my every morning on similar way. And result of this similar way, I just very quickly hold. I'm not holding all of them, but just some. So in the end of my creative component or some part of will be over 2,000 collages. So I'm just swap my camera so you can see. So I sit down with some stack of magazine, some pair of scissors, some glue stick, and I make daily collages. Usually I'm just add 2 walls. I'm just flipping through 2025 diaries. So as you can see, I usually add just 2 words and I'm just manifested what I want. I started around this 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and this is how I want my day unfold. I sit down with magazine. I put on all these images, nothing elaborate, just fragments. I cut, arrange, I laid. At first, it was look very simple creative routine. But over time, I started to realize it's something else happening. This is how my PhD research started in 2024. So when I work with collages, I notice that it's not only simple making the images, I'm working with fragments. Pieces have a different life, different practices, different places, different moments. And collage naturally invited fragmentation, juxtaposition, and reassembly. And I began to recognize that mirror how I'm experiencing identity, memory, and how sometimes it's complicated or simple. And sometimes it continues to put together. This is also something about materials themselves. Paper, scissors, glue, they slow me down in a way a digital world never does. It becomes noticeable texture, weight, edges, overlaps, and it's showing something opening, a kind of reflective attention that is difficult to access otherwise. My research is grounded in autoethnography, which asks us to turn inwards, to examine personal experience. Collage gives me that another language, a material way of thinking, a way of knowing what happens through my hands. Each morning, I sit up, I look through the magazine, create these fragments. Different magazines have a different time. They come from different places, different news agency. I arrange them, sometimes carefully, sometimes intuitively, sometimes not. Sometimes I just play. And I don't know what the result will be. And then I glue them down, fix them. Sometime I can see what moment before will be the emotion. After each session, I move into writing. a plant diary, a PhD research diary. The collage and writing speak to each other. They extend the same thinking, but in different form. Over time, I began to understand collage differently, not just a creative output, but a part of research itself. In my work, collage is both data and analysis. The images it cut already carry history. When I reassemble them, I also interpreted something else. And then finished collage becomes something I can return, read, and reread, not as illustration, but as material text. Through this practice, I started to see more clearly that identity, memory are not unfold the whole. They're constructed, layer by layers, fragment by fragments. Continuity is not something we inherit, it's something we make. This process also changed how I pay attention. Working with analog material is slow perception. It creates space to notice in small, everyday details that will otherwise pass by unnoticed. And the materials themselves continue to matter. Each magazine carries traces of where they come from. Though traces remain intentional with my experience as work. What began a very simple daily practice has become a research method. This project proposed handmade collage, not just a visual outcomes, but legitimate way of generate knowledge. It showed that knowing myself can happen through doing, through touch, through cutting, through pacing, through layering. In my doctoral research, I'm developing a framework that brings the following: daily collage practice, autoethnographic inquiry, and engagement with experiential learning theory. Position the work at both creative and rigorous. So what began a simple morning routine, a few scraps of paper, a little glue, have become a way of understanding how memory, identity, and meaning are formed itself. And I want to leave you with this. Analog handmade collage is not just a visual product. It's a metaphor of knowing yourself, remembering, and becoming. In my case, it's becoming an academic, a creative person, an artist, and myself. Thank you.
Thank you all for that amazing presentations, and thank you for being on time, on time. We have 20 minutes for comments and discussions. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to say, but need to check it to you. Sorry for not knowing your name because I need to check it. But to you both, actually, I wanted to say thank you for being there, because your friendship, your song made me feel like I belong, like I'm not alone as well. And we're surrounded here by people, so I will not like weep to tears too much, you know, but it made me feel something. It moved me, so thank you for that. And it was beautiful.
Hello. And Jenn, big fans anyway. It was beautiful. And at the end, Jenn, you invited something that Anne hadn't seen before. And our theme is connection. So I wondered if Anne wanted to respond to Jenn.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Amazing. It's been such a beautiful reciprocal kind of honour in hearing Jen's voice emerge through the process. And I came in as a music therapist with my skill set,
And then she kind of threw it back on me, and I got to receive that process of like creative authenticity and vulnerability and sharing. It was really moving. And Jen's got a better voice than me as well, which is really funny. She's got such a beautiful, pure voice. So it's been such a beautiful process, I think, for both of us. And we've touched so much vulnerability. And at times, I think that was confronting as well, I think, but also really healing. So I think we have a long journey ahead of us. But the intensity of the time zones when one of us is always exhausted has been really difficult.
Thank you. It's here for Jen and Anne. Thank you for such a beautiful piece. Can you tell me how both of you being neurodivergent assisted your collaboration? Yes, hearing that.
So the first part of how being neurodivergent assisted our collaboration was I'm editing a special, an autoethnographic autistic forum for the Journal of Autoethnography, and Anne is one of the contributors. So that was obviously directly a direct influence. But one of the things I know about lots of neurodivergent people, you know, it's in the literature, is we don't really give a toss about social conventions, and kind of Anne just reached out and said, can I do anything, from what, 10,000 miles away, Anne? And I mean, I had a really bad time in hospital. I'd actually been moved up to the enhanced psychiatric female ward because the standard level of psychiatric care couldn't cope with me, and I was in a really bad place, and kind of I found the thread of creativity. So yeah, do you want to add anything, Anne?
I think there's neurodivergent people often yearn for depth and meaning, and we don't give a toss for superficiality. So in a way, when life is really tricky and hard, we do really well in terms of connecting, because it's that kind of like really deep, what is life about, what is meaning about, what are we about? So in a way, I think that made it just felt really easy to connect with someone who I'd only met via a conference and some emails to go into that really deep place really quickly, if that makes sense.
And may I add something? It's such a great gift to us to have you here in that room, because otherwise we wouldn't have noticed what your lives are all about, and that is wonderful. Thank you so much. And now, participants.
Thank you to all the presenters. Really enjoyed all four of yours. My question is for Jeanine. You said something that really struck me. You said, don't mistake resonance for understanding, where your audience just sees themselves in your story or hears something familiar. And so I was wondering if you could just talk a little more about the difference between resonance and understanding, and how you try to move more toward understanding, because that's something I really want to think about more after your talk.
I think, to be honest, it's also something I'm still trying to achieve, because, well, they're very similar in a way. And I find myself, when I'm listening to a story of someone in my work, for instance, even as a counselor, I immediately say, oh, yeah, I know exactly how that feels, but maybe not, maybe it's not exactly, which most probably it isn't. So I think for me, what I try to do is to remain cautious. And then what happens when the story is not similar like mine, but the experience was similar? So for instance, I had one of the participants who mentioned that counseling was quite traumatic rather than helpful. And I think that made me more realize how careful I need to be when I'm listening. And when I'm trying to understand. Caution, that's what I try to do. Do I always achieve it? I don't think so. But it's always there at the back of my head to try to be as a good enough counselor or a good enough researcher as I can be.
Directly to that point? No. Then I would say you're the next one.
Okay, thanks. My question is to Elena. I'm just curious. I mean, you talked about the process and the twofold, but how did it start off? I mean, where did you get the idea from?
In 2023, I almost completed my master of professional study research, and it's very technical and it's very dry, and my practice like artist become non-existent. So I thought I need something. So I looking through Instagram and being inspired by Janice McDonald, so her diary, and I said I can do that. It was not invasive. It's very time limited in a very small time, but I need to do something else. So I decided I will do a 4 diary. I'll put my words and making them more attentional instead of abstract. And when I finished my master, I gave a proposal to my PhD, and I cried during my master 3 times. So I'm making one thing. So I will not cry through my PhD, and I will do the PhD for fun. So I almost finished this. I almost cry a few times, and I keep holding to do this PhD for as a different reason. And my supervisor said, do not throw all this towards examiner, because I only show you one side of my collages. I have to show you another side because I have so much offcuts and I do something with them. So that is another side of collages. So this is some stuff that doesn't go into paper waste basket. So I think the whole concept of collage, and I find it's very demographic. It's very easy to do. So not big time commitments. I encourage everyone, particularly if you feel you're not artistic or creative, you only need very simple things. I'm just switch my camera again. You need glue, you need scissors, and some paper. It's all you need, and some sort of substrate to glue that. And whatever you feel or not feel, this is what you can create. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, the next one.
Yeah. Bethan, I just wanted to say what a pleasure your violin playing was. Annie's a fantastic guitar player and has produced all kinds of banjos and ukuleles and various other string instruments. But as I said, we were limited by the you know, doing everything digitally and making recordings, and it's a pleasure to hear the depth and resonance. Your presentation made me think about my own experiences, because my mental illness has affected my family quite a lot, and I thought forwards to maybe a descendant of mine 2-3 generations down, and I hope that they may be able to find more answers than you have, and I do wish you all the best in finding out more about your mummy. Mummy. Good, and please, yeah, and please. Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm always curious when I get the timetable. What's this called? Program. Thank you. When I get that, and I look at where I've been placed, is always of interest to me, and I'm thinking, who's curated it, and how come I've ended up there with those people? And I'm always curious, because it's about connections, and I'm like, somebody must have thought there are connections between our 4 presentations. So as I was listening to each of the others, I was going, of course. Oh yeah. And it all just came together. So, Jeanine, I want to express and hide. At school and at home, you were different personas. overwhelming, and invisible. I love it, and I also dread it. So they were resonances. Jenn, I wrote the word neurokin. Is that a thing out there in the world that I don't know about? Because I love that expression. Kindred spirit. Oh. Yeah. 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 I resonate with that as well then. And Elena, working with fragments, a material way of thinking, a method of knowing yourself, and a way of becoming. So in my doctoral research, which is about to be finished, everybody cross everything, I have made collages, only one with paper, glue and scissors, but mainly with stitching. And I've stitched my sense of my story. And my story was about finding my body behind the violin. But it's been by means of collage that reaches from here to there and piecing together bits of paper that I found throughout my life from very early days to now. So I really resonated with that. And a big part of my methodology is making by doing and learning as you go, as you embody yourself. So although as a professional violinist for many years, I used my hands to make meaning to an audience, I wasn't really in touch with my own meaning making. So actually, to get another means of communicating that brought me back to my instrument, which now resonates in a different way, because I know what it's like to handle material in a tactile, haptic, sensing way. So yeah, I really appreciated our connections. Thanks.
Is it Bethan or is it Bethan?
Either.
Either. Oh, yeah. So I was going to say that it's funny you should talk about how the groupings have happened, because I was just thinking that presentation done by Alexandra Pitt in just the previous session was so closely allied to yours. Yeah, for instance, I thought that, I saw a really strong connection there. And then also in terms of the public and private self kind of thing, there was quite a bit done, Jeanine, in Princess Oyewale Orire's presentation from the University of Malta. So I'm wondering whether you've connected, considering where you're from at all. But that was a really interesting presentation earlier today. And it was a lot about this, who I am when I present myself to the world. I mean, we've had the public-private self kind of distinction for a while, but I think people are growing more aware of the disconnect between the two. In terms of back to your presentation, though, Bethan, I'm wondering how much you feel, as Alexandra does, that we need these peepholes into this sort of otherness through these objects that we inherit, possess, and surround ourselves with. I mean, I've got my dad's watch. I will not go anywhere without my father's watch. It just, there you go. Yeah, so I feel like the need to create continuity for ourselves is extremely important. So the connection with the past is another kind of connection that I think means a lot to all of us, actually. Could you say something about that, perhaps?
Yeah. I don't have long. Material things matter. Touching things matter for me. For a long time, I wore a pair of socks. I had two pairs of socks. One that my dad had bought me. It was the only thing he ever bought me in my life. And two, a pair that belonged to him after he died. But since discovering the true story of my childhood, I no longer have those socks. But I have other things. So they're powerful. Ancestral charge onto our lives is something I very much take care over I'm very much aware of how they speak to the current generation. Somebody, I can't remember who, was speaking about ghosts. Or was it you? Sorry. Oh, yeah, exactly. And buildings. Buildings speak. I sold my family home a year ago with its memories. And I cleaned it. I cleaned even the top shelf of the kitchen has never been as clean. And people were telling me, why don't you hire a company? I said, I need to clean that house until it's pristine. And I blessed the future owners. I left some flowers and a card. And I've since been back to check that they're okay. Because we're guardians of these things that hold our memories. They're tangible, but they're also spirit, I believe. And so we live with that. We carry the past and we honor despite.
They hold us too.
They hold us, but I'm trying to hold them lightly and kindly, because wounds are wounds. Yeah. There's that book, Arthur Frank, The Wounded Storyteller. I've reframed that as the scarred storyteller, because there's a scar over the wound, but there's still a scar, and it will remain.
Thank you. I really enjoyed that. And coming off your comments from my presentation earlier, it was really lovely to hear the violin. And I can't remember who said it or who they were quoting, but they're saying music is for emotions too specific for words. And I think one of the things is, we're talking about materiality and things. And I think one of the things is I recognize my own good fortune in sometimes having an object. And I'm thinking of a friend who was from Vietnam. And difficulties in the country, records burnt. She doesn't even know what year she was born. She doesn't know how old she is. And there's no way of finding out. There's no way of finding out ancestors at all. It's an entire severance from her ancestral history. And I guess it's that thing of what you gain from the material object, if you're lucky enough to have one. And then it's how can we recreate that when I don't have one? I don't have one. I don't even know who they are. How can I create that?
Just to speak to Bethan and yourself as well, sorry, I can't remember your name. I have very few material objects from my family of origin because of trauma. I have had to put away things that would usually be important, like graduation pictures, because members of my family who I have nothing else to do with. But I think what you're saying about recreating is important, because it's not just material things that you recreate, it's families that you recreate. And what I do know is that I've been able to stop the intergenerational trauma, which goes back, to my knowledge, at least to my great-grandparents on one side. So there's that recreating a family as much as material things as well, because sometimes family didn't exist, even if it claimed to.
Thank you so. Not without saying that I took with me always the pen holder I gave my late husband as a gift, and all the wardrobe from him I could wear. I wear that regularly. Yes, that is, yes, that is something about past, present, and future. And thank you all for your presentations, for your questions and coming. And